Hello and welcome to PMP Exam Success in Seconds. Now today we're talking about project management. Project management is the art and science of managing projects. What is a project? It's a short-term endeavor undertaken to deliver a tangible or intangible result. And that could be a product, it could be a service which is intangible, but nonetheless is a deliverable. That is what a project is. Now, how do we get projects managed? We get projects managed by making the right decision about what to do within the parameters of the project. Now, the parameters of the project are the initiating of the project, which is really the start of the project, the planning of the project, making the right decisions in planning, making the right decisions in executing, in monitoring and controlling and closing. So in initiating, we develop a project charter and we identify the project manager in that charter. That's all that does. It says, Phil is the project manager and he can apply resources to the project. He has the authority to do this. That's all your project charter is. Now, do you have a charter on your project? You see, if you don't, you need a document that can identify you as the responsible party, as the authorized party. That's project management broken down, having a project charter. Now the next step, after you are authorized to manage the project, you need to identify who your stakeholders are. We call that stakeholder identification, or the identify stakeholders process. That's the next step in initiating. Now, identifying stakeholders isn't all that easy. Sometimes you may need to ask your colleagues, you may need to ask your boss, you may need to ask governmental agencies, who are the people that need to be involved in this project? That's what initiating is all about. It's the genesis. It's where you get all that base information that you will build upon. Now, when you have identified key stakeholders to communicate with, to manage their expectations for, right? When you have found those people, the next step is to begin to plan how to get the project on a great footing. And you can only do that by developing a deliberate project management plan. Not an ad hoc, pay-as-you-go plan. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sitting down. Now, depending on the nature of the project, depending on the length of the project, the scope of the project, sometimes you have to spend months coming out with a great project management plan. But sometimes you could get that done in a week, sometimes in a few days on a small project. But the key thing is, depending on the project scope, put in the right amount of time, put in the right amount of energy. Get the project management plan as flawless as possible. Now, I'm not saying that the project management plan is built in a day. It's not. It's not built and then you never do anything with it again. No, that's not what I'm telling you. I'm only trying to make you see that you need to spend great time getting the project management plan for your project done. And when the project management plan for your project is complete, you're only just starting, because we have what we call project management plan updates. So your project management plan, depending on how the project proceeds, may need to be updated. Very often do project management plans stay static and stoic. It's a dynamic document. It changes based on project occurrences. So in planning, you've got one goal. Get your project management plan the best as you can, as flawless as you can. Now, there are going to be things that you improve. And that will happen when you move into executing, because executing a project management plan is all about getting stuff done. It's not about just doing busy work. No. Executing is all about taking your project management plan and getting stuff done. If you show me a project team working on a project without getting stuff done, they're working on a project but they're not getting stuff done. They're not getting deliverables done. They're just burning money and working around the clock. That project is headed for disaster. So in project management, as a project manager, you need to ensure that your team is following the plan. Not gold plating and adding extras, but getting stuff done. Getting it done the best way possible. Not cutting corners, but doing what they agreed on in the beginning, in the plan. Okay? Now the next step in project management overlaps with executing. As we are executing our plan, we don't just work. No. We work and we check the work. We work and we ensure that the deliverables that we're producing are indeed great. Not just good, but great as we plan them for the customer. Because everyone tells the customer, we're great, we're going to give you the best thing you could ever have. Now the big question when you start the project is, are you working with that same level of zeal? The same level of zeal you used to sell yourself? The same level of zeal you used to sell the product? Are you working the same way? And that's why we need the monitoring and controlling process group, to make sure that we're really holding it down, to make sure that we're really representing the company the best way possible. Now, as you execute and you monitor and control the project, the work on the project, you come to a point where you get done with the deliverable. You send it to the customer verifies it and says, okay, this is good to go. The next thing you do is you move into closing the project or the phase. If it's one phase in a huge project, it needs to be closed out. Same way the project needs to be closed out. So my question to you is, how do you close out a project? Do you ensure that all the needs of the customer have been met? Do you ensure that everything you said you would do, you did? Or do you just close it out the moment you get paid? Do you just ask for a paycheck? You know what I'm saying? So to be a really great project manager, you need to ask yourself if you've done everything that you said you would, and you need to begin to close out the project. A big thing in closing out a project is lessons learned. Lessons learned are also called what? Do you remember? A lessons learned is really an analysis of what went well and what didn't go so well. But we've got another word for it. Do you remember? It's called a post-mortem. People call it a post-mortem analysis. Or they could call it a project post-mortem. But all you're doing is you're looking at the project, you're looking at what went good and what didn't go so good. And what went well, can it be repeated? You want to take what went well, you want to document it, and we call it lessons learned in the world of the PMI. But you document all this, you put it together, you put it into an archive or repository. And the next project, you will be armed with great information to make your project even better. Now that's what project management is all about. Initiating the project, planning the project, executing your project management plan, monitoring and controlling the project, and finally, effective, deliberate, decisive closeout. Bearing in mind not just you, not just your perspective, but the customer's perspective of, did you do your job well? Also, the vendor's perspective of, did you manage me well? Or could you have managed me better? So it's a 360-degree view of the client, the team, asking you, do you think you did a good job, project manager? Well, guess what? You could have done this better. This is what you missed. This is what you could have improved on. And at the end of the day, if you've really managed your project well, guess what? You're going to manage the next one even better.